The Severe Center in Magdeburg offers an innovative therapy to improve vision after diagnoses such as glaucoma, optic nerve damage, macular degeneration, retinopathy, or vision loss due to an ischemic attack. This is the story of Mr. M, who came to our clinic from the USA.
Basically, this all happened about 2 years ago. I suffered a series of microstrokes in my eyes. In the process, I lost about 60% of my eyesight in my left eye and about 25% of my eyesight in my right eye, which is obviously overnight life-changing for me, and so it was very disturbing. I immediately went to an eye doctor, and they basically said that we need steroid treatments to stop this. And you might want to prepare yourself to for being completely blind, because we're not sure if we can do anything about it. So first thing I thought is, what can I do to reverse this? And just about every eye doctor that I've ever talked to said, you can't. If you take damage to your optic nerve, it's pretty much permanent. I'm an engineer. I seldom accept one answer as the only answer. So I started down the path of personal research, and through that process, I am coming across a video on YouTube that talked about this clinic.
Mr. M's journey begins with a consultation at our clinic. We evaluate the patient's vision with several tests. One of these is called the visual field test. Mr. N has to press a button whenever he sees a bright spot on the screen. The test results can be displayed as visual field maps. Here we can see 3 types of visual field regions. 1. White regions where vision is intact. 2. Black regions where vision is severely damaged. And 3. Regions with gray dots. We call them hope spots because they have reduced function but the highest probability of restoration. In the following, we will take a closer look at how vision actually works to understand what could go wrong. How can our brain recognize the apple and think, yes, I would like to eat this apple? Vision loss is not only an issue of the eyes, we also need to consider the brain function. As the brain plays a crucial role in processing the information the eye is receiving. To show you how our therapy works, we would like to take you on a journey through the visual system. When light is emitted from a light source, it travels in a straight line. Now, the photon hits the apple, which causes the light beam to be sent through the pupil of the eye. After passing through the lens, the photon hits the retina, and this is where the magic happens. In the retina, we have light-sensitive sensors called photoreceptors that detect photons. As a result, the receptors produce an electrical signal. This signal is sent through a chain of retinal neurons, and then carried by their fiber connections to the back of the brain, where the visual cortex is located. This is where the mental image is created. We can now recognize image features such as shapes and colors. Understanding the image, however, requires other parts of the brain. So the signal is distributed throughout the brain for analysis of meaning and interpretation. Only when the signal reaches the prefrontal cortex can we think, I want to eat this apple. Under normal conditions, information processing is really fast. Neurons fire strongly and simultaneously, activating a whole network to process the visual information. This is called brainwaves synchronization. An important question is, where do neurons get the energy to fire? Neurons need oxygen and nutrients to function properly. In a healthy state, these substances are delivered in sufficient quantities to all parts of the human body via the bloodstream. However, neurons are not directly connected to blood vessels. To protect neurons from toxic substances, star-shaped cells called astrocytes act as an interface. These cells control blood flow to the eye and the brain, ensuring that active regions get enough energy supply. They deliver oxygen and regulate metabolism by storing blood sugar, or glucose, to fuel neurons. Now, let's take a closer look at Mr. M's case. He suffered a mini-stroke in his eyes. In an ischemic stroke, blood flow is blocked or decreased due to a clot formation in the blood vessels. As a result, blood flow to the neurons is impaired, and they do not receive enough energy to fire, causing the signal to be lost. Prolonged or severe ischemia can lead to damage or death of retinal nerve cells. Reduced blood flow also occurs in other eye diseases, such as glaucoma, where there is too much pressure on the blood vessels, causing them to narrow and let less blood through. Without sufficient blood supply, the affected areas stop working properly or start to die. Blood vessels also constrict when a person is under emotional stress. That's why some people experience vision loss in extreme and prolonged stressful situations, such as personal loss or permanent stress at work. Constant worry about going blind can also affect your vision negatively. It is therefore very important to reduce your overall stress levels and make lifestyle changes that improve blood circulation. In the following, we'll look at the bigger picture. How does the activity level of neurons affect our vision? In this example, the upper retinal neuron is supplied only by a narrowed blood vessel where blood flow is reduced. This means that the upper neuron has less energy. The lower neuron, on the other hand, is also connected to a normally functioning blood vessel and therefore has much more energy. Let's say two light signals arrive at the retina at the same time. These signals are processed differently depending on the energy of the retinal neurons they have to pass through. If we look at the whole brain, these delays in neural processing can have a huge impact on information processing. On the left, we see a normally functioning brain. Neurons are firing quickly and simultaneously, generating a complete picture of a moment in the outside world. On the right, we see what happens when signals are processed at different strengths and speeds. Information is transmitted out of order. You can relate the chaos of neural activity to the mental image you see. When neurons fire slowly or at different rates, the signals arrive at the visual cortex at different times, and then the mental image appears incomplete or blurred. This issue is targeted by our electrostimulation therapy. The core of severe therapy is the daily treatment with the worldwide unique method of electrostimulation. This is a minimal microcurrent therapy of the eyes and the brain. As we have seen, neurons carry visual information as electrical impulses. Stimulation by microcurrents delivers the same kind of energy to the neurons. The treatment stimulates the entire retina very rapidly. Sometimes you may feel like you are in a disco because you can see a pulsating light from the electrical stimulation of the retina. Electrical stimulation is already being used to heal muscles and nerves. Why should the nerves and muscles in the eyes and brain react differently? In this visualization, we see how an external supply of energy awakens dormant nerve cells by forcing them to become active. They learn to fire again. As an example, we see how a photoreceptor generates an electrical signal and transmits the signal. The massive activation of the retinal neurons establishes their connection, because neurons that fire together wire together. When stimulated, neurons that are still alive will fire and send the signal throughout the brain. This stimulation sends impulses of the same frequency to the eyes and the brain, causing neural networks to fire simultaneously, helping them to strengthen and reorganize their connections. This concept is called neuroplasticity. In addition to electrostimulation, we provide patients with information to improve and maintain their vision at a long-term perspective. For example, how to train your eyes and improve blood circulation by stress reduction techniques. Now, we will summarize the presented concepts and the changes in the visual system of Mr. M. His dormant nerve cells are being treated with electrostimulation and stress reduction methods. This relaxes the blood vessels. The increased overall blood flow ensures that the nerve cells are supplied with sufficient oxygen and nutrients, which improves their functionality. The massive energy supply causes neurons to fire simultaneously and strongly, establishing their connection. After treatment, his awakened neurons process light impulses more effectively, improving his overall vision. Finally, we would like to review Mr. M's test results and hear his thoughts on his experience with our treatment.
The very first or second day, something happened with me, and I didn't understand what it was. I could focus on things much easier. I could read words much easier. All of a sudden, I could glance at something and process it. There's a few places in my vision that are completely blind, and I haven't been able to see through those for a few years. I mean, completely. In this process, early in the second week, I felt as though maybe there was some light showing up. The test then showed that the blind spots in my vision, even the stuff that was black, that when I came in and said don't expect anything out of these areas, those are turning gray and actually shrinking. And it kind of gave me the chills, thinking, you know what, maybe there is more capability of recovery than I ever thought there was in the past. The most emotional thing for me is that I had no hope before, and I have hope now. You know, somebody's doing something out there that can really help and really improve my life. So that's probably the greatest change.